carnivore from the early Miocene era to the end of the Pliocene. It was a super predator that preyed on everything from whales to turtles, using its powerful jaws to bite through just about anything in the sea. But what if these enormous beasts didn't go extinct 2.6 million years ago, but remain to this day? Let's explore. By the way, while this is in no way related, if you happen to be a fan of Fortnite, the new game sweeping the world, head on over to Fortnite Central. It's a new sister channel that talks about all things Fortnite. Now get ready, it's time to ask the question, what if Megalodons didn't go extinct? First of all, let's go over some quick facts about Megalodons so we're all on the same page. The name Megalodon comes from the Greek meaning big tooth, and with teeth over 6 inches in length, the name does not lie. The Megalodon looks something like a beefed up great white shark, which is part of why some scientists believe them to be closely related. Reaching roughly 60 feet or 18 meters in length, this beast would be among the largest in the ocean, even longer than a city bus. Due to its powerful jaws, it's able to bite with over 180 newtons of force, which is why it's believed that the Megalodon attacked its prey from the side, biting through its body into the vital organs, rather than attacking from beneath like a great white shark. This creature was built to hunt and was an extremely successful predator, preying mostly on large creatures like whales, seals, and giant turtles. But if these creatures were so incredibly fit for their surroundings, how did they end up going extinct? Let's look into it, since this could help us understand them and understand the necessary changes to the world in order for them to survive. Climate change certainly played a factor in its extinction. Not the man-made climate change we've seen in recent years, but the natural, much more gradual change that has been seen throughout the history of the Earth. Global cooling made it more difficult for them to survive in many climates. However, as the temperature changed, many migrated to more suitable areas. Thus, climate change had little direct effect on the extinction. However, this climate change had another effect that did lead to the extinction of the Megalodon. By the end of the Miocene, many of the species the Megalodon preyed on had gone extinct, and those that survived were more difficult to catch. The lack of food and competition with other super predators led to the extinction of the Megalodon. So if we're imagining a world where Megalodons didn't go extinct, we would need the food sources, particularly the mysticetes or baleen whales, to not go extinct either. This means that not only would our world have enormous sharks swimming around, but whales would be more diverse and abundant as well. This in turn would mean that smaller fish and krill would have to be more abundant to feed the whales, which in turn would feed the Megalodon. But that's not all. The increase in mysticetes would mean that the other species of super predators could also survive. This means that we wouldn't only have to worry about the Megalodon, but other large creatures as well. All this is to say that the addition of the Megalodon would make waves in the ocean's ecosystems. Pun very much intended. But there's another rather pressing question to answer. How would this affect us? Well, if we're looking at how early humans would interact with Megalodons, we could look at the video game Ark. If you play Ark, you'll know that these pesky prehistoric sharks love to strand low-level players on islands. There's nothing more frustrating than swimming to an island only to find yourself surrounded by Megalodons. And this is something that could well have been an issue in the early days of humanity. Since Megalodons tended to reside off the coast, even a trip on a raft or small boat could lead to an attack. However, there were already large, dangerous creatures in the ocean at that time, and the addition of another likely wouldn't have huge effects on humanity's travel across the ocean. Nowadays, the existence of Megalodons wouldn't have a huge effect on humanity as a whole. It would certainly be interesting, albeit terrifying, to see a living one, but we have progressed to the point where we don't really depend on seafaring on small vessels. Perhaps there would be the odd story of a Megalodon attack off the coast, which would of course make the headlines, but the actual odds of this happening would be rather slim. And now we return to our question, what if Megalodons didn't go extinct? Well, if the Megalodon was to survive, sea life would likely need to be more diverse and abundant in order to feed all members of the ecosystem. In terms of its impacts on humanity, it might have been quite terrifying in man's early days, but modern humans likely wouldn't have much trouble with it. That said, I don't know about you, but I might think twice about going into the water knowing there could be a bus with teeth waiting for me.